Got food on my face. Oh my god. Hey, what's up, guys? So, this video is going to be about a new deck that I got. And the deck itself is not new, but it's new to me. The deck has been out for a while. And it's the Mother Piece deck. And what I like about this deck is that it's round. And she did that intentionally. Like symbolic of the great cosmic mother being, 360 degrees of wisdom, 360 degrees of love, being complete. The book, I actually got the book first. The book I got years ago. Because I was a diehard Rider-Waite deck fan. Like I was like, I'm never going to use another deck. But I eventually got around to it. And the book, though, I got first. I don't know if this is not mirroring for you guys. And I don't know how to make it not mirror if it is. Anyway, Mother Piece. Who is at my door? Is that my book? Anyway, that is my new book. Somebody just dropped off the book. My door is wide open. Never mind. But the book is what I came across first. And this was years ago when I was first getting into goddess worship, yoni worship, the divine feminine. I was looking for as many books as I could find to get more information on this when I first found out that those things were even a thing. And this was one of the first books that I came across. And what I really liked about this book is the way she acknowledges that a lot of, like, Merlin Stone wrote When God Was a Woman, but she doesn't really acknowledge, like, her research in goddess worship doesn't go back that far. What I like about Mother Piece is that Vicky Noble definitely credits Africa as the earliest place where there was, the divine feminine and the worship of the goddess. And like I said, other books don't go back that far. Other books will talk about, like, the Greeks, stuff like that, but they won't go all the way back to Africa. They won't, and specifically name Libya as Africa. And she did that here. She says many of the stories of Amazons relate to Northern Africa and especially Libya, but it's also true that earlier all of Africa was known as Libya. Amazons may have been more widespread than has been thought. And again, she goes on to explain how, again, there have always been very powerful women in the antiquity of history. And like I said, other books that talk about that, like I said, that talk about goddess worship, like I said, don't go back as far as Africa, and don't even really, like, name African customs, African goddesses. They'll tell you the remixes, but they won't go to the origin. And that was one of the things that I really liked about Mother Piece. Like I said, she kept it real. And sometimes it's hard to get white feminist women. I don't know if this woman is white. I'm assuming that Vicky Noble is a white woman. I don't know. But a lot of times you have, like, these white feminist women who, like I said, they will remix everything, and they'll give you goddesses, but like I said, they won't mention Africa at all. So if you're like me and you're finding out that before there was a father god, there was a mother god, Mother Piece is definitely a book that you want to have on the shelf. Like I said, it's one of my personal favorites. There's another book. There's some other books too, but I'll get to that at another time, because I wanted to focus on the deck as well as the book. Because like I said, the book I've had for years. This book came out when? This book was published in 83, which is, again, that's far back, because like goddess worship really hadn't been like a thing, and at least for me, until the early 2000s. So again, I grew up in the church, and there was no mention of, and in the Black church, like the Catholic Church really praises like Mary as being, a goddess, or being like a divine force. But in the Black church, there is no, like, Mary is just, who Jesus' mother is, and that's it. Like, we don't revere her, we don't reverence her, we don't worship her, we don't light candles to her or nothing like that. And then I found out, like, Mary is deified and worshiped, in places all over the world. So for women like me, like I said, that grew up, in the Black church, there's so much that we miss out on, because, again, the Black church is very male dominated. And a lot of young girls aren't growing up with any kind of spiritual or divine representation of themselves. It's strictly father, like, and it's like, why can't you have a mother God? When you pray, why can't you pray to mother? I mean, you can pray to both, but why that was something growing up that always bothered me. Like, why is there, no feminine worship at all? Why is there no goddess to reference? Why is it always centered around maleness, and toxic maleness on top of that, like toxic masculinity on top of that? So, which is another reason why I wanted to, have a platform to really reach out to young Black girls, to be like, there is a divine feminine out there. There are goddesses in ancient history that are waiting for you to tap into. These energies are just waiting for you to tap, into them. And in church, like I said, we don't get that. In the Black church, especially in urban communities, you just get Father God, and that's it. You don't really, and even in the King James Bible, you don't have a lot of, to me, positive representations of women. Like, these women are very subjugated, having to wait on men for everything. There's a lot of rape. There's a lot of, to me, it was just really something that was really hard for me to digest. And then, like I said, when I started doing my research when I found out that there was a such thing as a goddess, I was like, let me really look into this. But like I said, it's just really sad that a lot of young Black girls grow up not seeing any kind of like spiritual references of, Black divine femininity, and it's out there. Um, and the sad part is, like I said, men really go hard in the paint um, to really like enforce and, like, keep this really um, strict belief that, God is male, and I'm not saying that God, you need both. You need the balance of the divine feminine with the divine masculine. And men, get, really in their feelings when you start having these well, not all men, but there's certain men that get in their feelings because they really, believe that, God is male, and that's just it. There is no woman. And if there is, men, oh, she's evil, a Lilith with evil, and all this other kind of stuff. Anything to keep women away from tapping into their natural feminine power. And that's what I want to do away with. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like I said, growing up, I didn't see anything that made me feel like there was anything divine about me. And there's still, and growing up, again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Music videos were just, women were just so objectified. And I'm not saying, again, if women want to celebrate their bodies, if women want to be strippers or whatever, I am totally for that. But again, it was the exploitation, of men, of, having women be so exploited. And like I said, to figure out that there are books where, that is, the woman's body is revered and worshiped. Again, I really, sometimes I wonder, like, what my younger years would have been like had I had this information when I was younger. If more young girls had, you know visuals and information and knowledge about, um how divine their femininity actually is, instead of just having to see, men, um in divinity, and men getting privilege because of this. Because again, this is, there's privilege in divinity. And this is something that, again, if young girls grew up understanding that they were powerful, like, what kind of privilege would, young Black girls have? Like, how would you walk through life, under, like, really believing that you are divine and you are powerful? Which is why, to me, like I said, it's important to, get this information, out. Um, like I said, Vicky Noble's book Mother Peace is a great start. And again, what I love, I'm a real book nerd. I am such a book nerd, and my favorite part of a book is the bibliography. If I read a book, and because I don't really read fiction all that much. I used to when I was younger. And if somebody refers something to me, I'll read it. But for the most part, I like nonfiction. I like information. So when I get a book and I feel like it's really good, it's well written, it's informative, the first thing I do is go to the bibliography, because I always want to know, where did this person get this information from? Like, that's the, like, where did you get this information from? And they got it from other books. So a bibliography will take you down a rabbit hole and, really open up the worlds of information. So that's my favorite part of the book, the bibliography. And I have been able to, like, get into so many other books and really, dive in, thanks to people listing, like, the books that they read, that, how they got this information. Um, One of the things, like I said, what I like about this deck is that it's round. I don't know if there are other round decks, then let me know. But I don't know of any other decks that are round besides the Mother Peace deck. And what I also like about her deck is the imagery and how primal it is. Like, do you see that? This is, like, so primal. Again, if I'm into symbolism and art, so nude imagery doesn't bother me. But just so you know, like, if you get this, it is definitely a lot of nudity on these decks. You see that? Very primal, very primal. And I love that she doesn't, and again, this deck in this book was created in the 80s. So to see something, from the past, that is depicting Black women in these powerful images and these powerful symbols, I'm just like, this woman was really on her shit. Like, she really had tapped into something that I think we are that's just now starting to, um, be out in the mainstream. And I'm really hopeful, especially now that everybody is, into spirituality and into tarot and voodoo and all of the kind of stuff. The next logical step is goddess worship, like, and really understanding what that is. Like, it's not just, mimicking the church and just going to church and, um, playing music and letting somebody speak and good night, like, really tapping into um, the elements, really tapping into the feminine energy of not just us as women, but the planet, like, like, and other planets. Like, when we speak of astrology, you can't get into astrology without acknowledging the divine feminine. It's everywhere. It's just been erased. It's just been pushed back. It's just been beat back. Like literally, like men have like literally killed and beat and harmed women just to establish like a male only divinity system. And the shit is fucking crazy. And that's why, like, people, say all the time, women are crazy, women are crazy. Look at what the fuck we have to go through. Look at what we've been through. Like our own men like overthrew us, killed us, burned us at the fucking stake, hung us, beat us, cut our babies out of our fucking wombs, like really horrible shit. And it's like, and they still, and to this day, men still cannot take responsibility for this shit. Like, this is the shit that cracks me up. Like, this is the wildest shit ever. Like, men cannot take responsibility for the mental state that women are in and for the mental state that the fucking world is in. The world is in shambles. Like, and men are still like, well, women need to do this. And well, what about what women do? Like, what? Like, it's like, because when men get together and they talk about things um and I hate bringing this nigga up because I cannot stand him, but it'll be like a good example. Like recently, this whole Derek Jackson thing, and of course, men are clowning him, but everybody is like, his wife is a puppet, how can women put up with this, like, and men really wonder like how women stay in abusive relationships and why women put up with such horrible behavior from men. And I see men having these conversations and it's always like, well, women need to do this and women need to do that, and they still don't acknowledge or take responsibility for the fucking patriarchy that women live under in the first place to create these fucking behaviors. How can you not understand how a woman is trapped in an abusive relationship or in a relationship she doesn't even want to be in? But we can't acknowledge how for many, 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 many centuries, women had no rights, had no voice. You couldn't do anything without a man. You couldn't own property. You couldn't have your own religious beliefs. You had to believe whatever. Basically, you were property, and you had to believe and do whatever your man believed. If your man believed, certain thing, then you had to do that. If he believed in, this male dominated religion, then you had to, fall in line. You couldn't do shit. You literally could not do shit by yourself. If you were a woman, you had to have a man do everything for you. He dictated how many children you had. He dictated where you lived. He dictated everything. You couldn't have money. You couldn't work. Let's not forget that women really entering the workplace is a very recent thing. Everybody wants to, act like, we don't know why women act the way we fucking act. Let's not forget that women in the workforce is a new thing. It's like the 60s and 70s, women really started getting into the workforce. It was a little bit before then too, because of war and shit like that. But let's not forget, women in the workplace and women actually getting rights in the workplace is a very new thing. That's why sexual harassment was such a big deal, because as a woman, you're new in the workplace. If you needed more money, you had kids, and you needed money, for whatever reason, your husband died or he was off at war, whatever, and you needed more money, you had to give up some pussy. You had to fuck somebody in order to. So sexual harassment, like, again, like these young girls, I don't want them to ever have to go through that. I don't want these young girls coming up to ever have to know what it is to, you know, and this is why I really get bothered when people have a problem with Black people or African Americans talking about reparations. Like, I don't ever want anybody, Black, white, or whatever you're, Mexican, Latino, I don't care who you are. I don't want these girls to ever grow up in that situation again, where you feel like you have to do something that you're uncomfortable with, or have sex with somebody you're uncomfortable with, just to keep food on the table, just to keep a roof over your fucking head. That's sickening. And for people to act like, oh, just go out here and get it, like it's that fucking easy for everybody. It's not. It's not that fucking easy to just be like, well, just go get it. I did it. Okay, well, who was your support system? Who did you have in your life? Did you have somebody that was willing to fight for you if somebody tried you on the job? Not everybody comes from the same situations that you do. Not everybody has the same people around them that you may have. Stop expecting everybody to do what you did the way you did it. And just have the frame of mind to say that we should all be out here safe and okay, instead of saying, instead of putting the next generation in danger and in jeopardy because you want everybody to do shit the way you fucking did it. Like, this shit is it's gone far enough. Like, women really have to get like out of this toxic masculinity mindset, well, I did it, and okay, good for you. Here you go. Round of applause. This bitch fucking did it. Good for you. Good for you. I'm proud of you, and I hope you continue to do it. But everybody's path is not your path. Stop being a block. Stop being a roadblock. Stop being a hindrance to people because you feel like you went through it hard, and everybody needs to go through it hard the way you did. I went through it hard too, which is why I don't want anybody else to go through the things that I had to go through. I don't want anybody else, these young girls having to deal with those same issues and wondering how they were going to make it. At the end of the day, this country owes us a lot of fucking money. And if us getting what we're owed is going to keep the next generation of these young girls safe, then I'm for it. Again, I keep warning y'all, stop letting these weirdos lead you astray. Stop letting these weird people lead you astray because they're getting paid for it. Again, they're getting checks. Some people say anything for money. Anyway, but it's just ridiculous. Like I said, men don't want to take responsibility for it, and they'd be the first ones to be like, oh, you just want to be lazy. So the fuck, what if I do? Again, Black people in this country work for free. Hard labor. I'm not talking about we sat in offices for 500 years. Back-breaking labor. The kind of labor that would kill the average person today. So I'm not, here to, like I said, to keep the bullshit going. We have to take responsibility for the fact that for a long, long time, men have had this fucked up mentality towards women. And men need to deal with that. Men need to take responsibility for that and really sit down. And again, everybody's so spiritual and everybody now wants to, be in the spiritual game and still don't really understand or still don't really comprehend, the energy that men really distorted. And this isn't a male bashing thing. This isn't I hate men thing. I don't hate men. But again, men created this world. Men created this environment of, like I said, this toxic masculinity of, there is no say so without me. So again, you have to include everything. If you're going to sit in judgment of women, if you're going to sit and talk shit about women, bring in the entire history. Because like I said, women have not been able to say or do anything. We've had zero power. Like I said, men controlled everything. You couldn't get it. You couldn't get educated. And even in slavery, times, like not only could white people own us, our own men owned us. We were property to our own men. So for the Handmaid's Tale to come out, like Black women watch that show and we're like, it's fucking disturbing because again, we have this genetic memory. So to watch a show like that is fucking traumatic. I don't recommend you watch it if you are sensitive to that kind of stuff. If you have some kind of trauma in your background, make sure your mind is right before you watch that show, because your genetic memory might get triggered, and you might, because it's real. It's real. It's a lot of sick people out here, sick mentally. And I believe we're coming out of it. But again, you have to understand what the history of something is to understand how to, take it in a different direction. And, when men came into power, you have to understand, like, this was at a time where, the medical industry wasn't a thing. Hospitals and medical care wasn't advanced. So you had a lot of men out here that had a poor diet, weren't taking care of their health, were having sex with anything. So a lot of these men had deficiencies and disorders and diseases and sexually transmitted infections and diseases, like literally eating away at their fucking brains. And these were the men, tasked with, ruling society. So, you have to explore that first to get an understanding of how, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't like, why, or, that doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense. The patriarchy is not going to make sense to anybody, because like I said, you have to understand, these men came from a place that was very barbaric. Like I said, they didn't have a good diet. And here it is, they're believing I can do it. I'm a man. I can do whatever I want. They're taking, weird substances. And like I said, they have diseases, running through their bloodstreams. So, they created a toxic environment because they were toxic at that point in time. The living life was a harder thing. So men had to be really tough and really it's just rooted in that, where that toxic masculinity, comes from. And, that carried through. There was just like a reign of terror for hundreds and hundreds of years, where women, and it's sad because there are a lot of places where women still don't have a voice. Women still can't work without their man's permission. Women still can't own property. It still happens in certain places in the world. Like I said, it took a while for it to, get there, and it's unfortunately we're coming out of it. But again, if men want to sit and start to have these conversations, especially if you are a man that considers yourself an ally, or you consider yourself like you don't have toxic masculinity or whatever, then you need to understand the history and why women are, crazy. Women are crazy. Again, look at the history of what women have had to fucking go through. Look at the history of what women have had to go through. Being raped and there's no recourse from it. Like there's no justice. And we're talking generation after generation after generation after generation. And then you see a woman stuck in an abusive relationship and you don't understand why she can't go anywhere. You don't understand why she doesn't have self-esteem. No, you say it's like it's a self-esteem issue. It's deeper than that. It's a genetic issue. These are genetic memories. So when a woman gets harmed, again, that's why it's hard for women to just like free themselves when they need to. Again, it's genetic memory. And there needs to be generations and generations of women being free to educate themselves, free to move where they want to move, free to own properties where they want to. And until that becomes conscious memory, then it'll become genetic memory. And then maybe women might be more well adjusted. But you can't sit around and say a woman, stuck in an abusive relationship or an unhealthy relationship is fucking low self-esteem. That's a cop-out. Like I said, men have to take responsibility. Y'all created these environments. Y'all created, these situations. And then when sit back again, can't take responsibility. Those are the men, like I said, have conversations with them, because that's what needs to happen. Like we've already, we beef back and forth, and it's like, the men don't want to, agree with the women, and the women don't want to agree with the men. But at the end of the day, men have to take responsibility because it is a male-dominated society. If you're a man and you really believe that you are the head and you are the lead, then you have to take responsibility for everything that's in between. You can't think that you're the head and you dictate and you rule. And it is again, we live in a male dominated, world. So again, instead of blaming women, men, you have to start taking responsibility and dismantling this all this toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Men have to swallow their responsibility for this. At the end of the day, that's just how it has to go. Men have to start taking responsibility and stop pointing the finger at women. Stop saying, what about this and what about that? And women are fucked up too. Women are absolutely fucked up, but it's because of men how we got here. Like I said, and men, like I said, just it's so hard for men to see something and be like, yeah, men need to do better. It's always like, oh, well, women, well, what about women? What about these evil bitches? Oh, they're evil. Oh, but can't take responsibility for the fact that there's no female god nowhere in their life. Like I said, and a lot of men grew up like with, watching their moms like in relationships that just weren't healthy. And then sit back and it's like, I don't understand why she never left. Look at the history, do your research on history. And you'll understand why your mother was never able to leave, why you're the men in her life, whether if she stayed with your dad or whether she had multiple men coming in and out treating her like shit. Look at the history. Do your research on the history in this country of how women had no say and women couldn't do anything without a man. Then you'll understand why a woman can be abused and harmed and treated badly and stay for her and for her children. It's not hard to figure out. These aren't hard things to figure out. Like I said, if you are not ignorant of history, if you're not ignorant of reality, you can't look at those situations and go, but I don't understand. It's not hard to understand. Like I said, men just don't want to understand because they don't want to take responsibility for it. And men still want control. At the end of the day, men still want control. The Handmaid's Tale is a very real possibility. And again, men don't want to take responsibility for that toxic, immature, my way only, and I'll beat you up, I'll kill you, I'll rape you to have my way. Take responsibility. Take responsibility. And stop looking at women like we're fucking crazy because we might stay in healthy environments, unhealthy relationships, abusive relationships. Y'all set this up this way. Y'all men set it up this way. So anyway, again, this deck has a lot of like very powerful imagery. And like I said, what I love is that there's the presence of Black women in this deck. Native American women, Mexican women, she just has women of color represented in this deck. And that was the first thing that really blew me away. And like I said, and I love how primal the imagery is. But, just look at how primal it all is. And it really makes interpreting these symbols when I read for people, it really makes it that much more interesting because it brings out a level of primal energy, like really getting into the real why people do the things that they do. Because again, you do things at a primal level, whether you understand it or not. So this is what I really enjoyed about Vicky Noble's Mother Piece, and I've been using it. I haven't used it for any of my YouTube videos, but I've been using them in private readings with people, and it really, like I said, it just adds up for another layer of interpretation. It really helps me, like to say, get in um, a little bit more information when I have this deck out. Um, but yeah, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, because that's the way for anybody, again, looking to get into goddess worship. um Mother Peace is again the way through that. She gives people a way, like it's almost like an initiation, through her deck and with this book. um and that's how you tap into the divine feminine, and it's through art and symbol. um the ancient Egyptians, the hieroglyphs, and everything, being on the temple walls, that's very significant. And you have so many tarot decks now, and like I said, it's really amazing to see the artwork, because that's how you tap into, like I said, these archetypes. um and it's just so, like I said, it's just exciting to me to see how far femininity has come, and where it's going. And it's just a beautiful thing, and like I said, I don't want any more young girls having to grow up feeling like, they don't have options spiritually, financially, romantically, when it comes to their health. you know um it's just so many things are just changing. And I know it seems kind of bleak. I know at times it doesn't seem like anything's changing, but trust me, it is. As an interpreter of symbols, trust me, things are changing. Things are changing. um it's unfortunate. Like I said, you still have a lot of like really mentally ill people, but at the end of the day, you know things are changing. Things are definitely changing, and I don't want to say good or bad, because for it depends on where you are, in your mind. If the thought of there being female goddesses, if that doesn't bother you, then these changes are great. But if the thought of there being a feminine, goddess bothers you, if you think, the divine feminine is evil, and you think archetypes like Lilith is evil, then these changes might not be good to you. I don't want to make a blanket statement, like, because you can't, because people experience different things in different ways. So a positive change to me might not be a positive change to somebody else. So I don't want to sit here and say, like, oh, the future is bright and everybody's going to be happy, it's going to be utopia. No, there's going to always be people that don't agree with progress or the way things are progressing, especially if things are in favor of femininity. There's going to be a lot of people that are not happy with the way things are changing to a more feminine time. We are entering into a more feminine time. We are entering into the time of the goddess. Men had their time to rule. Like, that's just how life is. Everybody has their chance to rule. Kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall. And now, like I said, we're moving into a more feminine time, where things are going to be um, a little slower, and there's going to be time for family. There's going to be time for women to, like I said, to heal from hundreds and hundreds of years of just brutality and oppression. And, technology is going to be a part of that. I'm not into the doom and gloom. Like I said, there are going to be people who aren't happy with, the way things change, but things change. That's just the way it is. Things change, and technology is definitely going to be here to, you know, um, bring in these changes. Like I said, I'm not predicting that everybody is going to love every single thing. For some people, it may be very disturbing, but this is why you do the research. This is why I read these books, and if I find something that I think would help somebody else, I put it out there because, like I said, things are changing. Things are changing, and I want young Black girls to never have to live in fear again, never have to live in lack again, never have to live in danger again, because it's just not necessary. It's just not necessary. And, it's frustrating, like I said, especially when you're on these platforms like this, like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and you just have so many clowns just out here, just really upholding old bullshit. Just, it's like, and it's like, again, it wouldn't bother me because people are free to say, and I would never, infringe on anybody's right to say, what they want to say. But I definitely encourage people to like really, think about the things that people say, like really listen, because people tell you who they are by in the things that they say. A lot of people out here with these, and they have platforms, and like I said, their intentions are good. So be mindful of who you listen to now, because like I said, there are a lot of people that don't want to see anything change. They're happy with the way things are, and this is the reason why a lot of people are so against progress, and they cringe when they hear things like reparations, and they really keep people lined up for harm. It's because it's certain people out here, again, the narcissism, and I've been speaking about narcissism too, and there are a lot of other people out here speaking on it as well. But some people are so narcissistic that they don't mind you suffering as long as you're not on their level. And this is why the topic of reparations makes so many people uncomfortable, because it's like, I don't want anybody on my level. If I'm working, you got to work. If I went out and I did all this, and then you got to do it too. Anything to keep people divided. Anything to keep people divided. It's like there's no humanity in a lot of people, and it's very disturbing. And you need to watch it, because, like I said, these people will do anything. They will harm you if need be, or vote for you to be harmed. Actively go out of their way to make sure that you are in unsafe conditions, that you are harmed, all because they don't want you on their level. They don't want you having access to the things that they have access to. You go and struggle like I had to. And that's just, like I said, pay attention to how people speak. It's just a lot of people out here with platforms, and they just like to use a lot of drama and shit like that to get people to follow them, and they're not following anything. They're not following anything. Like I said, it's just foolishness, and just a bunch of just cutthroat behavior, because people are scared. Things are changing and people are scared. And there's nothing more dangerous out here than a scared narcissist. So be mindful, be very mindful. Like I said, listen to what people say. When cruel things happen, and these babies are getting killed by everybody, the cops, sex traffickers, organ traffickers, whatever, and they, and they try to justify it in some way. There's always an example of them trying to justify something. Really pay attention to what people say. Really pay attention, because they show you who they are. Pay attention. Really pay attention, because this shit is sick. Some of these people don't need platforms. They need counseling first. They need to really figure out why they're so cold-hearted and just weird. It's hard for me to even find words for this shit. But anyway, I wanted to, some people, like, sometimes I look on YouTube, and I see people, and they have like lives that are like 2-3 hours. Just like, bitch, how the fuck do you have time? How I would love to just sit here and bullshit. And one of these days, maybe I'll find something that'll help me go 2-3 hours. Some people have lives that are like 6 fucking hours long. I'm like, I can't think of anything I can do just on end for 6 whole hours. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. One of these days though, I'll try to figure it out. Like I said, I'm an introvert. All this, being on camera for hours and hours and hours. I'm like, just thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. But anyway, I said I try to get these lives out and more content up. Like I said, now that it's getting warmer, I will definitely be putting up more content. Like I said, in the winter time, that's my time to hibernate, and that's my time to like really do my spiritual work. That's when I do a lot more of my research. That's when I go shopping for more books, and I try to find more resources and information. So in the winter months, there's just not, I just don't feel the need to like really be um, uh, doing live videos or anything like that. But when it's warm, I definitely come out of my shell a lot more. And like I said, this today was, like I said, this new deck that I got. Like I said, it's new to me. Um, but I wanted to definitely get into this, and I just think it's just really beautiful. Like I said, the imagery is really nice, um, and the fact that it's round. Like I said, I really love it, and I recommend the book "Mother Peace" by Vicky Noble. Um, Especially for a new tarot readers, or people that are looking for tarot readers. It's good to have people that to read for you that are tapped into more than just masculine energy. Um, so I highly recommend the deck, and I recommend the book. And there's some other books on divine femininity, but that'll be another live video, because like I said, I didn't get the books together. Had I got them together ahead of time, I would just start talking about them, but I did not. So I'm just gonna have to do a different video for that. And there are a few other books that I wanted to, like I said, tap into. But for now, this is just a review on Vicky Noble's Mother Peace book and deck. Like I said, the deck is round, and it's going to give you a lot of primal energy for you to tap into and pull from. And the book is definitely going to give you a lot of information on the divine feminine and goddess worship. So yeah, that is that. And again, if anybody wants to book me for a reading, you can go to my website, themosthigh tarot.com. I am on Facebook and Instagram, The Most High Tarot. And like I said, if you're looking for a reading, please book me. And like I said, I don't do I don't do the like the clickbaity type of readings. Like, I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you he's coming back. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you, he still loves you and he's thinking about you. I'm not going to do that if that's not what's coming up in the cards. Like I said, you have a lot of novelty people out here that just, they get decks, and it's the cute thing to do. And, they put some crystals in the background, and, they learn the meaning of the cards in the book, and they, give these like super general readings. And I'm just, there's nothing general about me. There's nothing basic and general about my readings. I like to um be real with people. And like I said, I don't know what's going to come up. I don't go in it wanting to know. I go in it open. And so that way, whatever life path issues you have, whatever blocks you have, we can deal with them. And it's not just, me dazzling people with, woo woo and all this other kind of stuff. Like it's just, me helping people get clear on their own life path instead of me telling you. I don't like, if I tell you something, it should be familiar to you. I shouldn't tell you, something and it just is unfamiliar to you at all. Like I said, there are a lot of people out here that are just, it's just something cute, you know, but this is something that I take very seriously. I take these readings very seriously. And like I said, it may not be something cute. It may not be all that, this cutesy love and light shit. Some people may have some shadow work that they need to do. Some people may have some trauma that they need to deal with, and for some people it may not. Some people, there may not be any much to say. Your spirit realm may not have, much info for you. It depends. Like I said, it really depends. But I don't like to do the clickbaity type shit. That's just not me. I'm not here for the soulmates and twin flames and all that kind of shit. No, I'm just gonna tell you what's really coming through. Um, but that's that. Like I said, I just wanted to jump on. I was out, and like I said, I came home and changed my clothes, and like I said, now I just kind of want to rest. But I wanted to get this out of the way. But again, I recommend Vicky Noble, Mother Peace, the book and the deck. And again, um, look over my content, and if you are interested in a reading, please let me know.